You know, there's a favorite saying in the Scrum community that Scrum is simple, but it's not easy. So most Agile frameworks, at least the basic ones, which I would argue you can apply even in a scaled environment, are pretty simple to do, to just do what it says. But what happens, because they're grounded in empiricism and seeing what's really going on, is all the things you do that make you slow, that make you ineffective, that create defects, are going to become starkly transparent, and that's wildly uncomfortable. On top of that, if you're talking about doing this at the organizational level, most organizations have taken those impediments to being effective and codified them as policy because they think about it. You've tasked this group of smart people to make sure that nothing bad happens. So every time something bad happens, they create a gate, they create a filter, they create some kind of a check and balance to prevent that same problem from happening again. What are they doing? What are they doing? They're smart people. They're solving for the fact that the best way to prevent bad things from happening is to prevent anything at all from happening. But that's what's making your business so slow. So even though people get excited by some of the implications of agility, especially for the feeling of empowerment, for teams being able to make their own decisions, I think it's pretty easy to remind people that, yeah, this is great, but we have a lot of work to do to make it really great. All of that said, it can still begin to feel really good to work in this way. There's a rhythm, you're succeeding every week or two, right? It feels really, really good. So as a Scrum Master, you have to help your teams not to become complacent with that. This is about continuous improvement. And the place where I would take that is encourage your team to experiment with reducing work in process. If you're having a great time with 4-week sprints, try 2-week sprints. Try 1-week sprints. If you're doing Kanban, try reducing your WIP limits by 1/3. And suddenly, the impediments in your practice that weren't evident at 1 month are starkly apparent at 1 week. The wild thing is that when you can see them, you can fix them. I've had 2 different teams in 2 completely different contexts go from 3-week sprints to 1-week sprints. One of them immediately increased their velocity by 50%, the other one by 20%. And those were sustained improvements because they could recognize that, oh, if we don't start working on the test until we're all done with the development, then we can't possibly finish in a week. Oh, we should start working on the test in parallel with the development. Simple things like that can yield huge improvements and huge increases in productivity. So if your teams are getting too comfortable and enjoying the rhythm and having fun, challenge them to experiment with smaller WIP limits.